YMCA of Greater San Antonio. Any discussion about this?
I do. May I make a statement, please?
You sure may.
And because I'm getting old, I need to kind of read my notes. I tend to.
I'm afraid you are getting old.
I am getting old, and I hope to keep on getting old. Anyway, let me kind of read and then we'll discuss if you need, ask questions or whatever. I still have some concerns on this item. You all know how I feel about our deteriorating conditions in our sports facilities. I think addressing those deserves our highest priority after meeting our existing commitments, for example, the industrial park and other things that we haven't quite tied up. Based on available information, I don't feel comfortable that a commitment to the Y would not significantly detract necessary monies away from that priority. Here's what we know. We need to spend $10,000 just to find out if Floresville will be the chosen site. No guarantee. More importantly, here is what we don't know. How much actual EDC Floresville dollars we will need to spend if we are picked. I'm more concerned with that than I am about $10,000. Yes, we spoke generally about financial support options, fee reductions, etc. The last time we were here. We don't really know what our bottom line costs will be. And here's my question, I've asked before and we never have been able to answer it, at least to my satisfaction. Why couldn't we find out what similar sized cities have had to spend of their dollars to become fully operational?
I think we can, I can answer some of those questions.
Let me finish the statement and we'll come back to
Okay.
that. Well, it may not be, while it may not represent Floresville well if we don't at least make a cry for the Y, I think it would be a bigger omission if we don't provide serious attention to our facilities problem. The consequences of that certainly can be more harmful. And as a bottom line, see, I just don't feel comfortable at this point being able to decide in favor of the proposal. I'm just explaining my position, but I'm willing to discuss.
That's why you're here. You're to express your concerns. There's a couple of points I have, and I'm sure other members have similar points. We'll all have our turn. If we don't pursue it at all, and granted, we don't know what it's going to cost. If we pay the $10,000, we get a copy of the study, which is some good information. The information we're going to receive is probably worth more than $10,000.
Okay, and I understand.
And I really believe that. Okay. After that, if Floresville can't afford it, even though we're picked, if we can't afford it, then we can't do it. Then we pay $10,000 for a study. But if we don't spend the $10,000, we don't have a prayer of getting it. And we can't go to any of our politicians or any of our grant writers or anybody and say, we need some help, we need this, just because the Y in wherever, Kerrville, if they have one, cost X, doesn't mean that's what it's going to cost in Floresville, nor does it mean that the people in Floresville can afford to pay the same price per family unit that they pay in Kerrville or some other tester or wherever. But I think it's something worthy of looking at because we're trying to attract young families, new people to town. And I think these young mothers that come to town, they look at the school, they look at the church, they look at what activities they have for their children, they look at the health care. But I think something for their children is very, very important. And if we don't at least reach our hand out, it's going to be very difficult to call Henry, Mr. Congressman Guare, and say, we need $500,000 for this to that. Well, you guys didn't even apply for the Y. What are you talking about? Why are you calling here? And that may not be his response. That was only an example.
No, I understand.
But, if we don't at least stick our head out and try.
I think earlier too,
No, go ahead.
well, earlier I think there was some thought or feeling from maybe city council and maybe some others that thought maybe this is going to compete against the park system, but there are a lot of programs that I think it could actually fill the park system. So after I heard the presentation, I thought, wow, these are all things that could really be tied in and complement the existing parks.
I understand that,
And
but my concern again, and I can be convinced otherwise, But my concern is, and I'm not disagreeing with what Ray and what you're saying, because I think that quality of life is a big attraction. It can be a deterrent to people that want to establish here either as a business or just to come here and live and work in San Antonio or wherever. But that's precisely my point, you know, we don't have the attractions now with the facility we have out there, and those are existing facilities now. So we don't fix what we have, why are we reaching to add something we don't have now? And all I'm saying, priority-wise, let's take care of what we have. I think what we have now, in a condition that it is now, is a deterrent to getting people out here, as much as not having the Y or not trying for the Y would be. And so I'm not disagreeing with the philosophy of we need to have something to attract people with. And it's more than just people, but companies that have workers and so on and so on. But here again, you know, right now, I wouldn't want to bring my children over here with that kind of situation. And that's what I'm saying, you know, so priority on. Now, and I kind of agree with Ray, you know, if we look at it and we can't do it, then at that time we decide we can't do it, I'm okay with that, I'm okay with that. I think it is worth the $10,000 to find out, but I don't want to find that we're committed to something that's going to detract to what we already have existing as a problem and harmful potentially.
I never got the impression that we would be committed to anything past the analysis and
Okay, well,
projections.
and that's good to know. But see, to me, when I put out a little money like that, and it's not a little money, $10,000, it's like giving an incentive for something that you're getting. But here we're just betting something. Now, when we find out that we got it, then we need to know, can we do the other thing? We have no clue right now what it's going to cost Floresville EDC monies-wise. And that's what my concern is. I don't know enough.
Well, I share that concern, and when he was here, we talked a little bit about that. And he led us to believe that there are lots of different foundations that would step up and support it. That's yet to be seen.
Exactly. But there has to be somebody that knows, you know, at least within, you know, a reasonably close number, what it costs, bottom line.
He wasn't helpful on that at all.
He was not. And before that, see, at the council meeting, I asked directly, and he wouldn't budge. He would not answer the
Yeah,
question.
yeah.
And again, I'm not trying to make him look bad or anything, but there has to be some way of assessing and projecting what it would cost. I don't mean to the precise dollar, nobody can do that, but if it's gonna be $1 million or $2 million,
Yeah.
and it probably is not, because there are sources that we can tap, but I don't know that. But there has to be experiences, and that's all I'm asking. You know, by somebody who's done it before and maybe very recently, and I think they know, the White House. You know, what does it cost, again, in our money? Money that we could use for this other facility problem that I'm talking about. That's all my concern.
Well, my thing is that I didn't like the idea that Stockville still has a chance without working any money, but the thing is, what I was asking is, this 10,000 investment, this study they do, can we use it for a future,
It's
other-
our study.
It's
So I think with that incentive, I'm okay with it.
We couldn't buy the study for $10,000.
Yeah,
No,
that's what I'm saying.
Fred, and I respect your opinion on
No, that's
that, you know,
fine.
but I strongly believe this is something that would be very valuable to our community, to know what the YMCA can do in terms of an analysis. Because I go back to what you said, I think it was, maybe even at that meeting, we talked about, Sarah, I believe, wants $80,000 to do a geological study out there to see what the foundation of the ground is out there. My God, $80,000?
We pay them taxes.
That's Sarah, that's
Yeah.
Sarah.
Well, so
Don't get
my
started.
feeling
The
is
people want to own that property 10 miles away from San Antonio River.
if we can get a study that benefits us in terms of, maybe they go out and look at certain areas that would help us determine where would we want to put parks? Where would some places be that would be in our area?
Well,
Might be beneficial to us.
Well,
in
it
that
seems
way.
like whoever does this parks work for us, somehow or another needs to tie in with this YMC people.
Sure,
Some point,
Because-
yeah.
They're interlocking some.
Because it seems to me like But clearly, there's potential for a lot of complimenting.
Yeah. And I too, I think that the YMCA has such a high trust level among people, among the general public. I guess that's where I'm kind of putting my dollar in.
And again, I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying, and in fact, you're telling me some things I needed to know, and I'm accepting that. Again, I need some assurance for me personally, that if it amounts to at some point in time, okay, the study is fine, $10,000. I'm not concerned about $10,000. I'm concerned that we're going down a road where at some point in time, we'll commit ourselves at the detriment of fixing, what we already have to get something we don't have. Now, if at some point, we decide, yeah, that's gonna be bad, it's not gonna work for us because we owe this thing here, because it's our problem and existing, and it affects so many of our people now, we can't do it. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. I'll vote for the $10,000.
And I don't think we'll know that
Yeah.
until the study is done, because I was thinking, gosh, the land price itself, that's such a variable. And I guess that's maybe why he couldn't give us some real solid.
He's probably made that mistake before, and they kept throwing that back
Yeah.
at him every
That
time,
could be.
so.
And it's simpler than I think we're making it, frankly. To me, it's just a matter of priorities.
Yeah. Fred, I think
Everything
we
is
share.
good. Nothing here is bad. Y is great. So I'm not saying Y is bad, I don't want it here. I'm concerned about deterring us from where we need to have our priorities. But you told me before, this is high priority. If that's so, I'm okay with it.
Well, and would the issue also be is, what if those are not fixable fields out there?
We have to do something. I'm not talking about fixing that necessarily, but fixing the problem. It may be further up, it may be somewhere else. But all I'm saying is we can't live with what we have. The need is there, we can't throw it out. We can't shoot people away and say.
And I do think we have to be smart about the dollars we do spend.
Absolutely.
So-
I'm agreeing with
But
you.
Fred, there's a couple of points, and I think I think we all agree with you, and agree with your concerns. We do, we share those concerns, but a couple of points. Just because we commit to the $10,000, it's no difference than you and I going out here and putting 100 acres under feasibility and putting down $10,000. If we do this study on that land and we decide that we cannot afford to build on it and make it a profit, we pay $10,000 for a study and for the opportunity to explore that land, but we're not committed to build on it.
No,
We
I
walk away
understand,
from
and
it.
I'm hearing that
We
loud
walk
and clear,
away.
loud and clear.
And,
That's
if
it.
we're gonna grow Floresville, we've got to provide something for the youth, for the elderly, for the people. There's
And
nothing
that's my
here.
point on the other side.
Yeah.
We need to fix what we have to make it workable and attractive to people. It's no different than what you're saying.
Exactly.
And there
Except
will,
this one we already have.
there will be people who will say, if we don't do it, in my opinion, what, $10,000 out of their budget? Why didn't they participate in that? Look what we could have gained. And there will always be those who say, you're spending $10,000 on that?
Oh, yeah.
But we get a $20,000 study for $10,000, the way I look at it. Instead of negatively, we've got a $20,000 study that we can use, we're paying 10 for it. The other thing is, none of us around the table know or realize what kind of donations are to come out of this. I mean, I'm looking at the county complex that they're in right now. What's gonna happen to that property when they move into the courthouse? Is that gonna, can we cut a deal where we, it doesn't have to be a brand new concrete and mortar wide. It may be a remodeled.
Well, and again, I think we're making it more complicated than what I had in mind. I'm hearing it loud and clear. I'm beyond that point now. Okay, $10,000 is fine. But I just don't want us to feel like we need to go grab something that's beautiful and precious and whatever if we can't afford it, because we owe our people, the existing people here that have a problem, then we fix their problem. That's all I'm saying. And fixing doesn't mean fixing those fields.
Yeah.
Okay?
The problem that no
I'm fine.
one's talked about exists for the Y, or for fixing the sports area, and that's where's the money gonna come from and how much is it gonna be?
And that's the.
And that's part of the
And
two.
where's-
That's part of the study.
That's
Where do you go get it?
And where's the priority?
That's the big deal. Where's the money gonna come from, irrespective of what you do?
Right.
But what better year than to go ask for money than during an election?
That's right, that's right.
Okay.
All right.
I would like to move that we contribute the $10,000.
And the motion second,
Chris?
made by Mary Helen, and seconded by Chris. All those in favor?
Aye.
All
I
opposed?
say aye, again, with the understanding that I provided, I hope.
Sure.
Of course.
I would never believe that would obligate us.
No,
We're not
but
obligated to
again,
anything.
I'm more concerned about the priority we give out here, and I keep pointing over there without necessarily meaning where we are.
Yeah, but I know where you're pointing.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about that just for a second more, to see,
Okay,
see
so
where,
Wait, we
Well,
have a
we're
motion.
good, right?
We need-
Yeah,
We
we need
passed
to
this
go,
motion.
yeah,
We all
yeah.
voted,
So
motion
I'm aye.
passes. Okay.
just for the sake of discussion,
Yes.
let's suppose that this Y deal happened, and they wanna do a Y in our area, and they come up with all the money except some minor amount to do this deal. And the dues, the fees are reasonable, something that we think that our citizens can afford. All right, so you've got that on the table. And then you've got,
That's not me, I'm not doing it.
and then you've got some sports work that we're gonna do. And we don't have money for it. Now, what are you gonna do?
Yeah,
Well,
that's my concern.
one thing about it, $10,000 is not gonna fix your baseball problem.
No, 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 no,
I'm not
no.
talking, we're not talking
You know,
about it.
Yeah.
but I think if you don't move forward in a positive direction like this right here, and show that you do have the initiative to try to go do it better yourself, how are you gonna walk in the door of somebody in Austin or Washington and ask them for money?
Yeah, I understand.
I mean, you can't.
I'm not arguing, I'm just saying,
And we could
that's
have-
800-pound gorilla, is the money.
Sure.
But we also could have the best of both worlds. We
Sure.
could get the
Sure.
YMCA, and we could have fields associated with it that
Yeah.
just happen. as
Could
a
somebody
result.
educate me just a little bit?
Are you leaving Santa?
I know that's a big
I do, I was born on December 24th.
I know there's a big opportunity there, lots of vacant space to work on. My
To educate
grandkids.
you.
Huh?
To educate you.
Yeah, my grandkids use those fields out there, all sorts of baseball, soccer, at all levels. And the only thing I've ever heard them complain about are the restrooms.
There are some real problems with sinkholes that are very dangerous.
Yeah.
You can drive out, but they are there and they do.
I need to go look at those.
Yeah, look at the orange, what is that called? The orange stuff.
On the
Fencing,
yellow
orange
caution,
fencing. Yeah.
fencing, safety fencing.
And I still think that we're not cautious enough.
And there's new ones that pop up every
I
day,
agree.
Jason will tell you.
I agree.
Because, you know, at one time they were talking about shutting them down totally. I
Who
think
was
that-
gonna shut it down?
Sarah.
Sarah, for one thing, but we ourselves need to think about that.
And how far up,
What
to the
authority
swimming
do they
pool
have
or
for that?
what? How far
Well,
up?
to the outfield on some of the
How far
fields.
does their authority go from the river?
Obviously, I'll go to your place.
All right, let's move on to item number 7. I think we're getting distracted here.
Item number 7, possible action item. Board member Ben Reed has requested an excused absence from the June 8th meeting. Mr. Reed contacted the ED before the June 8th meeting to report his absence.
I move that we grant him an excused absence.
Second.
Motion made by Mary Helen, seconded by Jason. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
And the second is very, very different.
Yeah. Yeah, I missed a lot of meetings.
No, you were here.
Board member Ray Lambert has requested an excused absence from the June 29th, 2015 meeting, 6 p.m. special call meeting. Mr. Lambert contacted ED before the meeting to report that he had traffic delays in San Antonio.
You couldn't
But
have
you were
made
here.
it. We had, no, wait.
I
We
didn't
had
get
a
it, no trust.
5-minute meeting, literally. I think it was 5 minutes.
You know, we voted on
Oh,
the
that's
contract.
right, we did that meeting, they came here. Yeah.
I move that we grant Mr. Lambert the
Okay,
excused
Chris,
absence.
second.
The move by Mary Helen, seconded by Chris. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Item number 8, discussion and possible action on present present the revised FTC cost sharing facade signage grant policy and grant application effective July 27th, 2015, if approved. I thought this was all.
Does anybody have any questions about the facade? Because it was,
Well, you got the pre-approval requirement in there, so assuming everybody loved what we had before that, it's.
Definitely more clear than it was before, and, forms look good,
Oh, yeah, I don't have a problem with
and thank you, Mary Helen, for all your work on that.
absolutely.
You know,
It's, in what we call plain English, it's not what we terms.
well, I mean, it's very clear, it's more than once, it talks about, not guaranteed, and
Yes.
you know, the board has to approve and then,
There you go.
you know, sign off on the project, so,
it. Don't have a problem.
much better than what we
Move to approve.
So moved by Jay, seconded by
had. Second.
Jason. All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 9, seeking approval for an annual shredder mowing contract for FDC's in-town properties and industrial park right-of-way, conservation area, 28 acres, and last tract for sale, 26 acres. The contract includes mowing and weed eating of the in-town properties, 2 acres plus 4 acres, 2 to 4 acres, on a monthly basis, an industrial park right-of-way every 2 months, conservative area for sale tract on a quarterly basis. All bids were due by 5 p.m. Friday, July 10th. Have a
ED recommends Michael Hack.
Yes, there's some other people that are really just like freedom, but basically, I can't spend the public's money and not recommend taking the low bid.
Do we know anything about the quality of the work he does?
No, he's retired. This would be his only account, the way he talks, and could devote whatever time is necessary. In a lot of ways, you know, he said, if I get this, I don't take on anything else, I just do this. So we've got more control than when somebody says, I'm doing 87 other projects and I'll get around to it.
Which one took us up?
That's that
The
first
first
one.
one. The lowest.
How'd you get to know him? Just by the bid he submitted?
Yeah, I took, ran the ad with all these parameters, and I took every one of them by all the properties. And showed them and told them exactly what we wanted and so forth. And as you can tell, I mean, some of them didn't really want the job. $60,000.
Gosh.
I'll go buy a shredder.
Tommy, do you have any protection there in case, for example, this guy just did shoddy work and just didn't do a good job? Because you're having a year contract here. Is there an out clause for us in case the job wasn't done?
There
Up
will
to
be,
expectations?
yes, there will be, so that I can replace it with the
Because
second.
I wouldn't want to put you something in that.
You're gonna have you're gonna do a written contract with them?
Yes.
And it includes in provisional
That's right.
contract?
Are all these registered,
Licensed?
Licensed. Well, no, I mean, with the state.
Yeah, and,
You know, you have your
what we talked
PI
about was a
number.
$1 million liability policy.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Stuff like that.
If they fall off, they can cut their leg off, we're not gonna be sued about it, and so forth, so, I think it's a good bunch that they're,
I was pleased with the number that submitted stuff.
Yeah,
with us,
that was
you know.
nice.
But you're gonna also put something there
You
that
don't just go by
in
the
contract
roads.
where if something sells, it comes off this
You
number.
get a, kind of like
Because
a
right now,
Okay.
yeah.
the portfolio of the company.
And I'm gonna have that 26 acres resurveyed to find out what I can sell now that the
If that's gonna totally change with the retention
And
bond
then
as well as.
they're
the
gonna
drainage
get a
area.
copy of it so that they know they're mowing 23 acres or 20 or whatever it is.
One more question. You know, you got to meet all these people and talk to them, so impressions are key too. So what was your comfort level with this guy and what he told you?
Oh, it was there. I mean, he's a good old boy, you know, just country,
And you looked at some of their equipment too? I mean, they have.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, we talked about equipment and, so I feel very confident.
That's the
Or
first
I wouldn't
one.
have recommended him.
So Tommy.
This is for what period of time, 1 year?
Quality is purely subjective. You gonna document that somewhere? whether it's
Well,
contract?
I talked to them while we looked at, you know, with every one of them about the sites, and we went over, I don't want, I guess I came from mowing until I could drive a tractor until I went to college, mowing pastures, so I do know a thing about shredding, and I don't want where, you know, they mow over something that's high and they call that the swath and then 15 minutes later, half of it pops back up. I want that mowed to where it's all level, a professional mow. We talked about either weed eating or using the lawnmower to cut behind the curb so that they couldn't get, if they couldn't get down to the curb, weed eating or mowing around all the signs or posts or fire hydrants, whatever it is, so they know, but that'll be in there as part of the agreement.
Do y'all know any of these people?
No,
The Parrish Taylor and Gary Yeager are related.
it was R&D.
That's,
It's Vaughn Yeager's.
Vaughn Yeager's son.
Family.
Youngest son.
What are they gonna do, or what whoever's gonna do? Because I know in the conservation area, between all the hogs and the water runoff in the ditches, I mean, it's humanly impossible at this, in its present condition, to shred it.
Well, actually,
Level.
They have agreed to take it on, and actually, somebody has come in, I don't know who it is, but on the side of the road, as you're going in on the left, somebody's round baled one side of it. Now, if I could just find out who it is and get them to get it out of there, that.
I say we buy some goats and we feed it to the goats as we make them eat the grass.
But also, I've talked to D&D today. I met them out at the park, and they're gonna give me a bid for running the blade through there and smoothing out the sides. And then we start off with a much cleaner slate about mowing and so forth. It's been talked about.
About hogs, that's gonna be a temporary fix.
Yeah, and we're gonna have,
It'll last overnight.
the thing, if I can somehow, without the liability of spraying, that's been suggested, but, I'm real nervous about spraying that would kill weeds and grass and have a wet water stream running through there.
Your spraying companies that are licensed are covered. I mean, if you get whoever it is that does it professionally.
I think really even if you just rope whip the Johnson grass, because the Johnson grass is what gets so tall through there. If you could, even if it was just coastal or something in that right of way, it'd be much easier to mow than that. But I would say if they come back with some sort of pricing on the blading, and that would help a lot, smoothing that out so they could get in there and mow it.
Yeah.
So, a couple of questions, Tommy. How do you pay these guys? How often, or how do they
I
get
pay-
paid after each completion?
They turn in an invoice for whatever they've done. I check and be sure it's done and satisfactory. I turn it in to Rhonda, and within a week, we get a check cut. And that was one of the things that was pretty sensitive a matter, because a couple of them had done mowing for San Antonio, city of San Antonio, and they, you know, they kept losing the invoice, you know, it's like checks in the mail, and I said, no, we pay our bills, you get it done, give me an invoice, I'll verify it, and we'll get you paid.
So this is not an annual contract, this is actually an acreage, based on an acreage amount.
That's right, and the acreage can, it's not gonna increase, it can decrease.
So these guys are not expecting $14,400 over a year's time. They understand that it's $40 an acre for however many acres they shred.
Right.
Period.
However often you call them.
Uh, Yeah.
Whatever the time.
That's right.
Okay.
But the only way I could, because
Because
a
I'm
lot of
gonna-
these numbers were like $45 to mow the city property and $85 to mow the industrial park. So I had to have a common way to account for whatever they did. And so based on my requirements for the number of times they did certain things and their price, I came up with an annual, and that's how we can easily spot low bid and next low bid and so forth.
As long as they don't expect that as a total. As long as they don't expect these amounts. whoever-
No.
I think the way
Well,
they
it's
do
not,
it is,
it's not
when
clear to
they're
me. In other
lower high,
words,
they still run the lawnmower.
the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items for industrial park properties
Divided by months.
is what you expect them to mow. Is that correct?
Yes.
So
Concept.
if someone mowed those 5 properties, and we did as specified here, how much would we pay? One time?
Well, I don't have it, I mean, he would be, he's $40 an acre for anything. So if, I've said, I want the right-of-way mowed, the conservation area, every 3 months, quarterly. So when he cuts that, he's gonna get 28 acres and 26 times 40. And if he's done it and he's submitted it and it's my approval, then we pay him.
But if it's in the middle of a drought, then there's no grass growing.
That's right, then you don't mow.
Oh, that's Jay's
Yeah,
point,
so
my
That's
point.
what I was saying is, in Fort Sam, they run up like, for instance, if you have a salary of 14,400, what they do is they equalize that per month.
Sure.
And whether the grass is low or not, they still run it. And that way it
Yeah,
maintains it.
and I basically am the decision maker to
Yeah.
say, let's go out there
The
and
way it's
mow.
structured, that's fine, it's better than what we've had, and what we've had before is just calling people at the last minute trying to get it
And
done,
then it gets
so.
expensive.
I think,
Yes.
you know, we've gone through the due diligence to get some numbers on the table, and you'll monitor that, and if we have a rainy season, praise the Lord, and we'll pay for more mowing, you know, if we have
Yeah,
to,
but-
so.
Gladly.
Rattle the can.
Exactly, so.
Anybody like to put this in form of a motion?
I make a motion to approve Michael Hahn to receive the, I guess what is it, a contract or award for mowing $40 an acre, $14,400,
Just $40 an acre.
$40 an acre. And allow the director to, you know, if it's more rain or so, to
Right,
To
right.
monitor it.
divide that.
Yeah, it'll be mowed per my direction.
Yep.
Have a motion made.
Before we vote, just
Go
want
ahead.
to discussion. So I think it's critical how that contract
Are you saying you want to look at it?
No, I don't want to look at it, but I just think it's important that
I'd like to see it.
somebody.
Yeah, somebody's to read it, it's not a picture.
The point here would be, you know, if you pay $40 an acre, and let's say you mow so many times and you could run more, what does that 14,400 mean? Do you overrun that to the extent that you probably are paying more than 17,640 at some point, for example?
The 14,400 is just my way of coming up with who
Is it a
has
limit? Is it a limit?
the appropriate bids.
He
But
just wanted to do it
he
by
doesn't
acre.
get, he doesn't sign a contract that says you're gonna get paid 14,400 if you just, you know, you mow a certain number of times. It's that's the only way I could express, the rest of these aren't just $40 an acre.
They're
They're
higher.
65 and 85
Okay.
and
so
so
this guy was the only one that had per acre.
they all had per acre,
But-
but they had differing amounts. There was nobody that was $40 an acre
I didn't
except
know.
this man.
They were all higher.
It's a minor thing, really, and I'm okay with it. But that confuses me a little bit, because how do we know then that this is lower than that, and so on and so on?
Well, because all the bids were higher than $40 an acre.
Simply
Yes,
stated,
Yes.
some
All
of
the other
bidding-
bids were higher than $40 an acre.
I went with the
And based on what-
frequency I asked them to do,
That wasn't on me, but that's okay. No,
and the frequency and.
Hang in there, Fred.
And basically, there were numbers.
Important.
Cut him
different
no
kinds.
slack.
Yeah.
So based on what they
Let's go.
offered, you figured out what that annual amount was.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I could say, this is the lowest bid, this is the next lowest, and so
Because
forth.
it would have been pure chaos if we've been, look at this discussion now. What if we would have been looking at all these?
Okay, we've got a motion made by Chris, and a second by Jason, to accept a proposal from Michael Hall to mow at Tommy's discretion, FDC properties at a rate of $40 an acre. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Number 10, appointment of FEDC Budget Committee for budget year 10/1/15 to 9/30/16. Jason's been heading up this committee. They're doing a very fine job. We've got a few people that are spread a little bit thin. You know, if we're listening to anything, I think, you know, perhaps if Jay and Fred would mind serving in this committee, I think it'd be a great thing. Chris just accepted one before this. You're kind of, your plate's a little full in it.
No, I'm good,
Okay.
Well, you know, y'all good with that?
I'm okay.
On the finance committee, because we need to have a meeting, and, you know, since we didn't get our earlier meeting this month, we need to plan on meeting and start hashing over the numbers. And then the goal would be that we come up with a final budget for our August meeting, which is, you know, in a few weeks from now. And then it'd have to be presented to the city council probably.
I think it's the 28th.
Yes, the last part of August. And then that still gives us time after the council meeting, if we need to revise something, to come back and meet. Because the council will ultimately approve all their final budget items in September, the end of September.
You mean,
So, well, I'll be helping with the committee. So I'll bring the reports with some numbers that we'll fill in and just kind of look at the history, look at where we want to go in the future. So then my question is, what does your week look like? Probably the end of this week, if that's possible, or maybe real early next week, because I don't want to get too far into the next week.
I'll be on vacation August,
Would it be Jay and
oh,
Fred?
no, but for the other meeting, I just want to make sure that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I
The
don't
next meeting.
Friday looks good for me, and we don't have any meetings Monday, right?
Well,
Yeah, that's fine.
yeah, let's pick, can we pick a date just real quick, if you don't
Sure.
mind? That way I know what it is. Let's see.
What, next Monday?
Well, Tuesday or, yeah, next Tuesday. What's the 4th look like?
That'll be the, what night?
August 4th.
Okay, that's fine, what time?
Are y'all okay with, 1 o'clock, 11 o'clock? I mean, I think probably we ought to do it after lunch, because in that way we can take the time we need.
That'll be fine.
And
That's fine.
So
y'all
that's-
okay with like 1 on
The fourth?
the 4th?
Okay, that's fine.
Tommy, where can we meet? Why don't you see if we meet in this room?
Yes, if not, we can meet.
We'll figure
in my
something out,
office.
but we'll meet at City Hall.
Okay.
And if you'll post that, please, Tommy, for the 4th, 1 o'clock.
Sure.
Thank you all.
Sure.
We need to put that form in motion.
It'd probably be best.
Somebody like to make a motion, please?
I move that, you know, we have Jay Pullen and Fred Gonzalez assist on the finance committee, be appointed to the finance committee to review budget items for our budget approval.
Second.
Second.
Motion made by Jason, second by Mary Helen, to appoint Jay and Fred to the budget committee. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Number 11. Monthly report as of July 2nd, 2016 for Karen, former retail coach. I think this one we have to get a motion to adjourn to executive session. We have a motion to adjourn to executive session. Moved by Jason, second by Mary Helen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?